Watch this conversation of Beto O'Rourke, an American Democrat, pretty left-wing politician, in conversation with Bill Maher, where he seems to be blaming Netanyahu for the problems of lack of peace in the Middle East. It's bizarre. Watch what he says and Bill's response.
It's the Israeli Defense Force. It's the Prime Minister who allowed this to happen in the first place, who are pursuing something right now that I think is actually going to make Israel weaker in the long term. I do care about the country. I don't think this is the right way to ensure that their safety and security is kept intact.
I'm going to have to end this, but I'll just tell you one thing to wrap up. Somebody I know, who I trust very much, a very good reporter, was over there in Israel very recently, and he said, people don't like Netanyahu. They want Netanyahu to go. Right. But what you don't understand in America is that the policy will continue. Netanyahu will go, but they want this finished.
They've had
ceasefire
after ceasefire after ceasefire. Israel has agreed to every single one of them, and Hamas has attacked them and broken the ceasefire over and over again. And the percentage of people in this country who think that what Hamas did was acceptable, the percentage of young people who think that October 7th was acceptable, is a failure on our part.
It's just amazing to me. People like Beto can be so delusional. I do wonder whether he actually means what he's saying. I think he does. So it means he's just delusional. The notion that Netanyahu is the problem. And when we hear the liberal intelligentsia in the West, we need to get back to talking about peace. Back to two-state solution, all that. They're living in cuckoo land. Israel has tried time and time again. They gave away Gaza, for goodness sake, to try and have peace. The Palestinian movement from its inception has been about trying to get rid of Israel. It's not about a genuine nationalism. They're just Arabs. They want greater Arab unity. And they say that Netanyahu's the problem. I'm not saying, I'm not claiming he's perfect. But as Bill pointed out, every Israeli leader would be doing basically pretty much the same thing, if not perhaps going in harder and more comprehensively. So it's bizarre to me that the onus is put on Israel, where she is the victim. She's the one that's been attacked over and over and over, that's surrounded by people and movements that want to get rid of her, and yet they sit on their high horse, their moral armchair, and say, oh, well, if Netanyahu just got out, we'd all be back on the right track towards peace. These people are burying their heads deep in the sand, and they'd call people like me ideological and hardline. Actually, they are being hardline in their ideology because they're not looking at reality. They are projecting what they want to be onto reality rather than looking at it for what it actually is telling us. It's really it's a delusion that I don't know how we address it. I think maybe they just struggle to really believe people can be so evil. People would say of Hitler in Germany, oh, well, he's just a bit upset about how Germany was treated after World War I and the reparations they had to pay and the Treaty of Versailles. They just want a bit of extra land. No, he wants domination, global domination. He wants to kill all the Jews. Yeah, that's what he wants. It's so shocking to people that people can be so evil that they have to rationalize it, find ways to say maybe there's some legitimate grievance. There isn't. Actually, it comes down to, is this legitimate grievance or is this an evil ideology? And that's what it is. And by the way, the other commentator that said Israel's tried ceasefire time and time and time again, she has. And it's shown the other side for who they are. But I don't even know anymore whether that approach is moral. Waiting around, trying to just ceasefire, de-escalate. But if you know there's a threat on your doorstep, is it moral to just sit around and wait rather than retaliate and get rid of the threat? Oh, well, civilians will die on the other side. Not our problem. If you have a government or a society that is built on a military platform trying to get rid of another sovereign state, that sovereign state has the right to say, we're getting rid of this threat. It's not our problem that you have civilians among you. The civilians actually have some level of responsibility for the government that they live under, and either saying we want to resist, or we're okay with it, or we want to leave. For those that can't leave, by the way, in the case of, let's say, Gaza, Again, resist can be an option, but also turning yourself in. As, by the way, a few, but some Gazans did. Turn yourself into the IDF. To the powers fighting you. That's what identifies you as an innocent civilian. It can't be the job of the Israelis, when they're making split-second life or death decisions, to determine who is or isn't a civilian. That's just an impossible task, especially when Hamas are embedded among civilians and dress up often as civilians. So it's important that we have moral clarity here, and important that we remember that just because people may be dressed up as part of the Western intelligentsia, whether they're in the Ivy League universities or senior politicians or whatever, they can be living in fantasy land. As I think Dennis Prager recently said, he said, if you went to an Ivy League university, my assumption is that you are a moral idiot. I'm not saying you definitely are, but that's my assumption. Unless you prove otherwise. Why? Because you were taught by moral idiots. We're seeing the great Western institutions, the intelligentsia, the universities, the NGOs, the media, celebrity culture, reveal itself for lacking or being void of genuine wisdom. And maybe it's a good thing that we come to that realization. Hi everybody, thanks for watching. If you want to watch another one, click here. If you want to subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest JTV content, click here. And if you're feeling really keen, you can click the join button down below underneath this video, where you can get perks including early access to new videos and private live discussions with me, where we can talk about JTV content and strategy moving forward, and I'll get to hear from you. Thanks again for watching.